Welcome back to the Blue Collar Trade Show, where real people share real stories about building, fixing, leading, and living with purpose. I'm Troy, and I'm here with the crew, Chad, Jim, Marissa. Each week we dig into lessons, have laughs, and hard-won wisdom from the folks who keep America running. Let's get into it. All right. Thank you, everyone. Welcome to the Blue Collar Trade Show. We've got Shelby Anderson from Service Forge with us today. Yay, Shelby.
Shelby.
Welcome. Yes. We just learned
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming on and spending some time with us today. We're excited to talk to you and learn a little bit about you and the business you work with and all the different things. Home services is I've been in it for 25 years. Jim's been in it for longer than that, and Marissa plays in that in and out. So Chad, who isn't able to make the show today, has been in home services for 35 years. So near and dear to our heart. You come from a different angle in the call center world, I guess, and different things like that. Man, that's going to be fun to talk about. So again, thank you for coming on with us, Shelby. And I, we're new to the podcasting world, but this is your very first podcast, right? So how excited are you from 1 to 10, but you can't say 7?
I would definitely say I'm more on like the 12 angle there.
Wow,
I'm
good.
really
Very
excited. Cool. I've been listening to the podcast recently, and I just love everything that you guys talk about, the different guests that you have on. That just basically gives a very small window of what their journey was and how they got there and how important these types of services are to their customers. And I think it's something that should be celebrated on a daily basis.
There you go. I love it.
We agree with you.
Yes.
You're our favorite guest. You're our favorite so far. Absolutely.
Okay, I'm doing great so far. I love it.
Okay, so Shelby, go ahead.
I was just going to start out with a question so again, like Troy said, I've been in the home services industry for a really long time. And I remember when they first started, call centers first started coming around and all that. What do you think is the biggest misconception in the contracting world regarding call centers?
Oh, I love that question, because I think the biggest misconception there is, oh, well, you know nothing about my business and you won't be able to serve our, customers in the way that we do. And I think we have gotten to a place where we actually do a really, really great job of that. And the way that we do such an amazing job at that is our communication path that we have with each one of our customers. We sit down with them in the sales process. We learn everything about them, about their business, about the people that are involved in their business, who's going to be calling in. So then that way, when we find out more and more information about that, we can customize their scripting to make it sound just as an extension of their business. Yes, they may not be able to speak with Jim directly or Troy directly or Marissa directly, but we would still be able to answer the majority of their questions. We'd be able to get them booked for an appointment and then take stress off of the team's shoulders as well. So I think the more and more communication that we have, the better relationship and the smoother that each one of those phone calls will go.
Has anyone ever said to you, my business is different?
They're the most unique.
It's just different here.
Yeah.
Different here.
Yeah. Oh, yes. I think probably almost every single phone call that we get from prospects on a daily say that exactly. And I agree with them. I think every single business is very unique, and they are a little bit different. But when it comes down to like the help that they need and the pain points that they have, it's actually pretty similar in a lot of different ways. And I think they all feel the heat of, well, I can't be missing phone calls. I'm missing these bookings. I don't know how I can even fill that gap. And that's where Service Forge comes in. We can fill a lot of those gaps. And so every single business absolutely is different. They're very unique, but I feel like the pain points are pretty similar.
Yeah. Well, okay. So let's peel it back a little bit. So you sound very passionate about this space, and it's fun to talk to somebody who loves what they do. But you didn't start it yesterday, right? So how did you get into it? Did you grow up as a little girl in Idaho saying, I want to
I
manage a
want to
call
be a
center
call
someday?
center, right?
Yeah. Did your dreams come true? Is that why you're here today?
No, I actually when I was little, I was like, I'm going to be a surgical technician. That's what
Oh,
I'm going to
there
do.
you
So,
go. Okay.
Yeah.
so different from where I landed. And, recently I made this connection because my father owns his own business and it's been passed in the family for generations. And every summer he would take me down to his shop and he's like, okay, I will have like some things for you to do, maybe like some cleaning, maybe you can organize some things. And one day I was like, can I just answer your phones? Like, I see you guys are just
Really?
running around crazy. Yeah. And this is like 11, 12-year-old Shelby, by the way, so
Wait, Shelby.
they're running around. It's my
That's awesome.
dad and his brothers who are running this shop. And I just picked up the phone and I just started answering. And even if it was like, oh, is John there? Is Bill there? Is Mark there? I was able to like, oh no, they're busy. They're with the customer. Let me get your phone number. I'll make sure that they give you a call right back. Or sure, you can bring whatever it is down. And by the end of the summer, my dad was like, oh my gosh, I don't think you understand like how much better our day was on a daily basis. I'm like, oh, I just picked up a phone and I either took a message or I handed the phone to you, not a big deal. But to them, it was such a time saver because they didn't have to stop what they're doing and then be on the phone for 45 minutes, come back, try to pick up exactly where they left off, finish the project that they were on. And so I think deep down, surgical technician is what I said, but I'm like, I think I have a different passion in there somewhere. And throughout my career, I've always been a part of call center work. I worked at, cell phone companies. I worked for banks in their call center and everything else. And so when I began with Service Forge, I actually started as a CX associate. I was taking the calls for
Okay.
our clients and
I'll be darn.
slowly but
Nice.
surely. Yeah, and slowly but surely I just found a passion and jumped into leadership and was helping the CX associates better their call quality and be able to handle different situations, right? Because not every person we talk to every single day is super happy. They have
Yeah.
their basement's leaking. I don't think they're going to be very happy, right? They're going to be upset. They might be distraught, and so that quality is really important. And I've just made my way slowly but surely to the sales side of the company, and now operation leader is where I'm at. So now I really handle sales and service and still help with that quality, but it's more of the customer experience at this point of where I'm at. So just a little bit about my journey there.
I think that's awesome. I had no idea that Idaho labor laws were so lenient with
I know, no
raising
kidding.
12
You got an
years.
11-year-old. Yeah.
Like,
Not only was she answering the phone, she was she was driving the truck around.
No,
So
no, yeah, no one's gonna yell at 11 or a 12-year-old girl on the phone. So that's a pretty smart move,
that's
actually.
a great move. Yeah.
Shelby, do you consider
That
Yeah.
yourself like an introvert or an extrovert?
I would love to say that I'm an extrovert, but I think deep down I'm more of an introvert
Introvert.
because I will
I was
get out
expecting.
there and I'm like, oh, I'm actually like out here around all these people. What am I doing? I guess I should just open up my mouth and just start talking. So maybe it depends on the day too.
At the end of the
That's
day, do you go home and you're like, oh, I can't talk anymore. No more conversations, or are you still able?
I totally wish that I could be that, but I also have 4 children. So
yeah.
like as
Oh,
soon as I get off, they're, how was your day? Oh, let me tell you about my day. You'll never believe what my best friend told me. And now we're off on a whole bunch of different other types of conversations or chauffeuring around to the different sports that they do. So I think more or less like when they're all to bed, that's where I'm like, okay, now we're talking eyes closed, going straight to sleep. Maybe a book here and there, maybe if I could squeeze it in.
It's an interesting question, Marissa. So I don't think we've ever really talked about that, but I mean, they're introvert, extrovert. So in sales, right? Everybody assumes that if you're in sales that you're an extrovert, but I would say the majority of successful salespeople are not extroverts, right? They're good listeners. They can ask questions. They're that sort of thing, right? So, and it's funny because if you ever listen to comedians, almost all of them like to hide under a rock when they're not
They
on
do,
stage.
yeah, right.
Yeah, they don't like big crowds. They don't like parties. They don't, so it's interesting, right? Not that salespeople are comedians, but you would think that it's a similar thing where they want to be out there in front of everybody going on and on all the time,
Well,
right?
and there's a lot of actors that are the same way.
Yeah,
That they hate the press
Yeah.
and the crowds and all that. And you're right. You think it'd be just the opposite. They would thrive in it. But
right. Yeah.
yeah,
So
very cool.
for sure. Well, that's interesting. So on the, so your business, so how big of a team do you manage? What's the business look like? It sounds like it's expanding like crazy, right? So,
Oh, yes, yes. We have a team of about 7 salespeople for Service Forge, but the service side of it, it's 20 plus. So we have a pretty big team that's dedicated just for you know Service Forge. But we're growing every single day. We definitely help within a lot of different areas there. So we're always trying to expand and just make sure that we have a lot of coverage for all the prospects that are coming in, but then also all of our existing clients that we have. So then that way everyone gets taken care of.
yeah. So
And
the
go ahead, Troy. Go ahead.
no, I was just going to say, so with that, so your business is built around the 24/7, taking the, so are most of your clients, do they use you 24 hours a day, or is it a mixed bag
After
of
hours
that and
too.
after hours and on, overflow calls and that sort of thing?
Yeah, I would definitely say it's a mixed bag. When someone comes to us and they're like, you can answer 24/7, we're like, yeah, absolutely. Because our CX associates, they schedule themselves for literally 24 hours. So we have people that are on at 1 a.m. taking phone calls. If someone has an emergency, we can get them booked and
Yeah.
get them on the schedule for tomorrow. And so I think some clients do definitely use us for 24 hours, or they'll just use us for overnight or after hours. So when they're closing up shop and they're ready to get home, they'll call us and say, hey, I'm forwarding the lines, and we take it from there. So from the time that they close to the time that they open, we're handling all of their inbound
Yeah.
calls that are coming in. Maybe it's their chats. So we're monitoring how that's going. If they would like to use one of our widgets that we have for chat services, and someone jumps on at 3 a.m. asking questions, we're there to answer the chats and then forward that information over to them. And we have things set and ready for them in the morning. So I think once they begin and they really see and they build that relationships with us, they're more willing to be like, okay, I can give 24/7. I think you guys can take the bulk
Yeah.
of our phone calls and we'll handle all the work. So to
Take
get started, I think
that
it's a
little
mixed bag.
test, right? Let's test you on nights and weekends.
On
Okay.
the with the call takers, are they all in the States, or are you using offshore at all?
So they're actually all North America. So we have
Okay.
US based agents. We do have some agents that are in Canada. And then we do have some agents in the UK as well. So
Okay.
if it does get to that point where we really don't have as much coverage as we thought, it will roll over to our UK team. But the majority is always our US and our Canada based associates.
And what's the strangest company you take calls for? I mean, what's the one company when you're like, you do what?
Do you want to name it?
um,
You have to name them by name though.
Yeah.
Oh, I was like, oh, I don't know if
No.
I can remember their name, but we did have one that was, like, we can come and clean up your backyard from your dog, do call us
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Yeah.
Duty
yeah, we
calls.
we
Yeah,
can
yeah,
do
yeah.
that
One
for
of
you.
those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So we sure, yeah, let's do it. We can answer those calls. We can get your customers booked, anything that you want. But that one I was like, oh, that is really interesting. Not the one that we would normally see, like
Yeah.
plumbers and HVAC restoration,
Right.
but
Yeah.
you know what?
Yeah.
We'll help everyone. So
The
whatever
3 a.m.
job it
guy
is.
doing your widget, your chat bot. I got dog,
Big
dog
file, small
Yep.
file,
emergency.
all the files.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
What about like like when you have difficult customers call in and how do you handle those, or what was like the most difficult, or have you had one that's just like a prank or something, or like a one of your clients calling pretending to be a customer just to see
Oh, yeah.
and like see how you guys respond? Has that
Oh yeah,
happened
so
before?
all of the above. Yeah. So we do actually have a lot of clients who call in and they just pretend to be a customer and they do
Mystery shop.
audits all the time to
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
just to reach out. And sometimes they'll be upfront and say, "Oh, hey, it's Shelby, with Answer Force. I just wanted to kind of test," or they don't say anything at all and we'll never know. The beautiful thing is about that is if they do call in and they hear maybe something that they're not too satisfied with, or they're like, oh my gosh, they knocked it out of the park, they can actually provide feedback. And our client services team will get that. We'll be able to either like give all the positive feedback and celebrate with them, or say, hey, this is an area of improvement. Let's talk about that. And we really coach to make sure that we're providing the quality. Um, Unfortunately, we do get spam callers every now and again, and our client services team, as soon as they know, they work really hard to maybe get that person blocked, or reach out to the client themselves and say, hey, we do have the spam person, that's calling in. This is the nature of the phone calls. These are the solutions that we have. What's going to be the best thing for you? We really try to handle those really, really quickly. So then that way, those spam callers aren't taking up minutes from our clients' plans. We don't
Right.
want that happening. Um, Even if they have, spam calls coming in, if we see and we catch that, because we try to be really proactive and looking at calls and screening calls, and if we see a pattern of that, we'll reach out to the client and say, hey, we see that this is happening. We have a solution for that. Can we try this for you? And then we try to fix it there. And we do have some upset callers that call in. Thinking back to my CX days, I think one of them was, I can't get in touch with this person, and they told me that I have to stay on the line for hours until they're available. I'm like, I'm not able to do that, right? And so trying to kind of talk to them and let them know what that process is. They still weren't happy at the end of the day, but me providing feedback to our client services team, who then called the client and was like, hey, we have this person who's demanding to speak with you. They're waiting on the line. They're, trying to keep everyone on the phones as long as possible. And we're able to get that taken care of as well, for the clients. And so I think it all just like keeps going back to that communication loop. But there's lots and lots of varieties of calls that we
Oh, I
take
can
on a daily
imagine. And then
basis.
too,
Well,
like
yeah.
see on TikTok, they'd like sometimes just call like companies and just as like a little prank and jokes and say off the wall things. And I'm like, I don't know how I would respond if I was on the other end and like on the spot, like, oh, we come up with something. So kudos to you because
Well, it's not just the customers though. So been in so you primarily deal with home services, so HVAC, all that kind of stuff. Is that it primarily?
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
so we all want to think it's the customers that are crazy, right? But sometimes the business owners are crazy.
yeah.
Absolutely.
And so because it's hard, because they have to be available, they have to adjust their boards, they have some responsibility in this as well, right? So so I
Uh-huh.
think software and technology certainly has made it easier than it probably was a long time ago. um, but I remember way back in the day when we were using call centers, we would call them because they had to link up with the software that wasn't linkable, right? So they had to find a way to kind of see what they had available, right? And so they called them
Yeah.
bubbles. We were constantly adjusting their
The
bubbles in
bubbles,
order to
right?
Remember that, Jim?
Yeah, I
Oh,
do. That's crazy.
Yeah, because it was pre like Service Titan or whatever where you could like integrate. This is 20 years ago, right? So there was some things where you just like, I I got to basically send you a calendar with my bubbles, right? So you can see what's available to book, right? And then somebody wouldn't.
wow.
Anyways, I'm getting into the weeds, but I remember that was it was just like such a nightmare. But that has to still continue. You're booking a call, and then you get yelled at for booking the call, right? Because I'm sure, right? Not
Sometimes,
sometimes.
yeah. I mean, we do have some very strong personalities that may come through our play, or we have, clients who have a very specific picture in mind of how they want things to work, or maybe the technology is just not
Yeah.
working for us. And so I think the best thing that we can do to get on the same page is having realistic expectations. And speaking of CRMs, like there's so many out. I didn't
Yeah,
actually realize how many are out there
Yeah.
until I started working more in the client services area. And there's so many. And so we may not know the ins and outs of every CRM that's out there, but we can, take a look at Zapier and say, oh, it's on Zapier. It looks like this is what we're able to do. Let's play with it. Let's maybe see what we're able to put together for you. But just know, like, there's going to be bumps. There's going to be kinks that we may have to work out. That same thing with your script,
Right.
of we may not answer the exact way that you want us to, but we're going to do our best every single time. But just know, like, each call could take 2 to 5 minutes depending on what you're wanting, and for us to book and everything else like that. And the more upfront and transparent that we are, the better conversations. I mean, we still have bumps every now and again, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Business owners, they're busy. They want all of these things to be taken care of, and if they're not, then they may feel like that we're failing them, and we're not. But we may just need to have a bigger conversation around whatever that concern
Yeah.
is that they have.
Well, that comes to the onboarding. Here, let's set expectations on our side, your side, so that we're all talking the same way, right? So it's
Yes.
so how do you is it, so it sounds like, at least from what I can tell, that it's a is it entirely a human answering service, or do you have some AI stuff in it, or how does that fit into your space? Because that's changing very fast too, right? And there's a lot of competition
Oh
there.
yeah. Yes, there is a lot of competition. It's changing a lot. And so we're all human based. I would say that the closest thing that we have is our IVR system.
Okay.
Um, Outside of that, and the best thing about the IVR system is the clients, they can record what they want and send it to us. Our client services team will record it for what they want. So they still hear a human voice going through the IVR system. It just, gets them to wherever that it is that they need to go. But all of our calls are answered live. All of our chats are answered live by real humans that are typing. Yeah, there may be a script that they're following, but we're asking real questions from
right.
humans. So
I always found that to be very interesting, right? So we've all dealt with call centers, and some are really good, and some are okay, and some are bad, right? Um, but it sounds like the experience is pretty good. You . But as so you came in on the CX side. How difficult is it to go from answering for Jim's air conditioning to Marissa's plumbing to Troy's, pooper scooper business, all in the same 2 minutes?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
It's gotta be a little bit of a your brain has to go, "Oh my god," by the time you're done, right? But how does that work?
Uh, yes, I would say our CX associates, they have the hardest job out of everyone. They really do, because it is, on any given day they could take over 100 phone calls for a
Yeah,
100 different
Different
companies. Maybe
businesses. Yeah.
not. Yeah, exactly. And that could
and
be,
different prices
maybe
and
we're
different this
answering
and
for, yeah.
windows and bubbles and yeah, right, yeah,
Right, exactly. And it could be like a lawyer that we're answering for, and then it turns around and, oh, now it's HVAC.
right.
Now it's a medical office. It's a wide variety of calls that they could possibly get. And that's where the scripts really, really set them up for success, because when they go in, they'll have an answer phrase that pops up. Sometimes there's a whisper that will talk in their ear if it's
Mhm.
a really difficult name or one that agents have stumbled on before, which we try to get that all worked out in
I
the
love that.
onboarding process beforehand. Yeah, it's
I
so
need that.
helpful. I still well, I still go back and take phone calls
Did you
even
say I
now
need
in the
that? Yeah,
operation.
we should all have
Yes.
one of those.
Yeah. I
So
struggle
whisper
Yeah.
sometimes
agent?
with pronunciations. Like there's little city, it's like I still don't say it right. Fuquay, Verina, or it was like Fuquay. But so I would love
Fuquay
to just
Varina. Yeah,
Fuquay, Verina.
That's a name or a city?
It's a
that's a
city.
city.
No.
Fuquay Varina in North
Ooh,
I
Carolina.
always
they're like,
think about that if I
"Yeah."
have to. I don't want to write that on an address on an envelope anytime, so I won't.
I would never live there.
Yeah, me
If I
neither.
can't pronounce it, I'm not
So
going to live
so
there.
we
Too
might
hard.
need that one for info. How do we set that up?
Anyway, you can finish. No, no.
Oh no, that's totally fine. And it seriously it helps. And I will still go on and take CX associate calls, and I see the name pop up because the answer phrase will pop up, and then you'll hear the whisper, and I'm like, please let there be a whisper, please, please, and it's there. I'm like, oh, beautiful. Okay, now I'm off. And the scripting we have set up in such a way that it's a really easy flow for the CX associates. So it might be, thank you for calling Marissa's office. This is Shelby. How may I help you? I would
Yeah.
be happy to help. Can I start by getting your first and last name? And then it's off from there of what they would like, if that's phone number, email address, maybe their service address. Is this an emergency? And so we have different decision trees that will lead them down the right path with the questions that our clients want them to ask for.
Yeah.
And so the more direct, simpler script, the easier the time the CX associates will have. And it's actually not too difficult to go from one company to the next. And we have some information on the side. So we have like business hours, we have a directory, we have an address, we have who we are. And so if someone calls and they go, oh, Jim's plumbing. So what exactly do you handle in the, for plumbing? Do you handle emergencies? Is there like a consultation fee for you guys to come out? We have that information on the side. And so they could go, oh no, that's actually free. And then if you decide to take on the business right then and there, or we provide services, then it would be like this cost starting upwards or something of that sort. Whatever the client feels like that they would like to share to make those calls easier. And it's actually really supportive, and it's not as complicated as what some might think. It's just a lot of movement, right? Because those calls can be anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes, and then
Right.
you're off to the next one, and then you're off to the next one. So it's just really fast paced.
Have you ever had where your phones work but your computer systems go down and now you're flying blind? That ever
Yeah,
happened?
so we have had that before, right? Technology, we
Sure.
love it, but
Yeah.
sometimes it doesn't serve us well all the time. So, in those cases, our CX associates have backup scripts, and I mean, it's very general.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
it's not a lot of customization, right? Because our system isn't pulling up their exact script, so they can pull up the backup form. We could still gather the caller's information. We can capture their caller ID number, and we could still take a message and connect the account number from what they see into
Yeah.
that backup form. We push it to our client services team, and then client services will make sure that each client gets their message.
So with your pricing, if you will, I know that there's different types of business services that you do and different size companies that you deal with, but is it based on per call or per minute or per text, or I mean, how does it work?
Yeah, great question. So our pricing is minute plans. So we have like our best value plan, which is 300 minutes for 349 or 389, excuse me. So they would have 300 minutes, and each call is really just based off of how many minutes that they use. And so if they use 2.5 minutes, because we bill by the full minute, it would be 3 minutes for that call, and so
Okay.
on and so forth. It's
And does
very
that include, what
customized.
about like texting and chat and all that?
Yeah, so chats actually do come out of the minute plan as well.
Okay.
And so we'll be able to make a script for the chat. So in that way, of course, we can keep that as little as possible because chats do take a little bit longer in that area. And so between your calls and your chats, let's say you're getting really close to 300, you can actually pop right into your portal and you can move up to the next plan, or you can downgrade all on your own because we we have no contracts. We're month to month. And so
Oh, nice.
if you feel like there's a change that you have to make within your billing cycle, you're able to do that immediately, and it will go into effect immediately for you as well, or you can have it go into effect the next billing cycle. So whatever is going to set that client up for success the most. And let's say if they go for one of our IVR services, they actually have their own plan. I believe off the top of my head, the smallest one that we have is 500 minutes for $30. So maybe they're not ready for live answering just yet, right? They're still
Right.
trusting the process. We're still getting to that point. Let's set you up with an IVR service. Let's get your toes in the water and then see how things progress from there, and maybe we can get over to live answering when
Smart.
they're ready.
I
Yeah.
was gonna ask that, like, if
Sure.
the minutes run out. So, like, if I might have, like, 300 minutes and I'm at 296 and Troy calls in and just wants to
Blah,
keep
blah,
being
blah.
still on the phone with you, Shelby, like, do you just cut him off at the 300 and hang up? Like, "Sorry, Chris is out a minute," or does
Depends on
it
who it
roll?
is.
You
If
finish
it's
the
Troy,
call.
then yes. Yeah.
Oh no. Yeah, no, definitely not. So if you do have, well, the best thing is that you'll get a notification when you get to 80% of your usage. And then once you get to 100%, you'll get another notification
Okay.
saying, "Hey, you're at 100%. We may need to look at, the next plan up for you." And then from there, we'll still take the calls. You would just go into overages at that point,
Okay.
until we can make contact with you, or they would be able to go into their portal and move up to the next plan. But we would never stop taking phone calls until someone either stops forwarding their lines or something of that sort. So we're still going to provide that service, but we try to always have like that very clear communication of where they're at within their minute plan.
What
See,
what do you
That's so
Marissa just would have hung up.
yeah, I'd
Yeah.
be like, "Oh,
She looks at her. She goes,
can't."
"Hi, thanks for calling Jim's Plumbing."
Gotta
Oh,
talk
sorry.
faster.
Click.
Talk. What about have so there are, every business has clients that they just don't want to serve, right? We're not going out to their house again. You know what I mean? And
Uh-huh.
how do you handle those? That's interesting, right? So all of a sudden a big red flag pops up. Do not book a call for this guy. How do
Yeah,
you
have they ever told
what do
you
you do
that?
with that? Do not go to Jim's house. He won't pay. Slow
Or a
pay.
child?
So we have had clients call in and they're like, if you receive a call from this person, you just need to like hang up on them. Don't even talk
Wow.
with them about. And so it's more or less like, let's find a really good way that can support you, but also support our CX associates, because it's really foreign to them to see something that says like hang up. And
Usually 9
that's
minutes.
that goes against all of our
Yeah.
like everything that we stand
Natural.
for, right?
Right.
And yeah, exactly. And so then it's more or less like, can you tell us a little bit more why you wouldn't want to book time with this person? Or, can we understand what that scenario looks like and how would you like us to handle that? Going forward. And we've had some instances where we do make a note for the CX associates that if we do see that name, that we may have to handle it a little bit differently. Thankfully, it doesn't happen often,
Yeah.
like at all. I rarely see it, but um, the only thing is like if that same person calls in and they use a different name, we won't know for
Oh,
our
tricky.
agents, calling in. And so that's where the client would have to, say maybe we need to look at blocking this person from calling us and kind of go that route. But again, like luckily it doesn't happen often.
And
So
See,
you
I
you
thought
check
I
you
thought you
check
guys
the
probably just had this big ogre sitting in the corner that you only fed scraps, and all those calls got transferred to
over
him,
to him. Yeah.
and he
Oh,
would,
you get to
"What
talk
do
to
you
the
want?"
person.
Yeah.
Can you check your system right now
oh
to see if See if Jim Nichols, NIC, if he pops up as a do not talk, do
He's
not
I
gonna
call.
probably
let
do.
climb
Yeah.
the list.
Yeah.
Okay, so what does success? All right, so I'm going back to my call center days, and most business owners, if you ask them, and I'm guilty of it too, so I'm putting myself in this, right? My call center is amazing, right? They book 90% of all the
90%.
calls. Yep, always. They're awesome, right? They can't prove it. They're just like, that's what I think they do, right? So, um,
Uh-huh.
what do you see? How do you measure success, right? So which is what's different with you is you know exactly the numbers, right? I know how many calls came in. I know how many were actually bookable calls and your conversion rates, right? So how do you measure success there? What does that look like?
Yeah, and the best way for us to go in and take a look at that is really through their portal and take a look at their minutes. Maybe listen to some calls with them and hear the quality of each and every phone call that we're taking. But it's more or less okay, on average, we're spending this amount of time with each and every one of your callers. Is that compared to, the other call center that you've had before?
Mhm.
um and most of the time they may, like what you said, they may not know and say, oh, I don't really know, but that seems really quick, and that seems like it's really, something that is actually working in the right ways. And then we can go back and say, actually, out of 100 calls that we've had requests to get a booking, we've actually booked 98 of those 100 calls, right? And so we would be able to go back and look at that data and be able to show that we are very successful in those areas because we're able to actually put it within the scripting.
Yeah.
It could actually be a link that we go to that has like an open API, and we're able to book straight there, or we can use our Service Forge booking page that we can customize for them that's
Ooh, that
automatically
sounds
booked. And
fun.
so each and every, yeah, it's really seamless actually. And the beautiful part is, just as a side note, is that Service Forge you can get started for free. If you don't have a website, no problem. We got a booking page that can serve as your micro website until you have one ready. And also, we can put it as an app. And so they can
Oh,
download
that's
your app and book straight from your calendar as well. Um, so we can integrate all of that. We can have it built within the script. And so naturally, that's just what we go into. And the agents will always push for that because that's what the script is looking for. And if they don't want to schedule, no problem. I'll make sure that you get that call back just as soon as they possibly can. And maybe we schedule a call back rather than an actual service. So it's really looking at all the data with them on a call. If that's a video call, on just a normal phone call, but being able to show all the things that we're doing right, because we are human. We still will make mistakes, right? Here and there, but that is, I think, the most successful part of it is that we're able to show them, out of all the minutes that we've used, all of the bookings, and looking at your calendar, we can see that we've actually booked 98% of the calls that we've taken for you. And these are how many jobs that we've actually won for you because we were here. Also, is your other call center 24 hours?
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Maybe
Right. Yeah.
not, but and we are.
Well, most of the time they're doing it themselves, right? That in there can, I would assume a lot of them are, but I don't want to do it myself, or I need something different, or we're growing, or they want a measuring stick. And so I'm just curious if that's, so when you're holding your own team to KPIs and, minimum booking percentages or whatever, I'm sure you have some of your agents that are better than others, right? So do you have like a 80%, 90% booking rate that you're trying to target? Or is that kind of just, is it client by client?
Yeah, it's really client by client because some clients really just want a basic message. They just want us to capture their first and last name, their phone number, and just a basic
Okay,
message.
it all
While
depends.
others,
Yeah.
oh yeah, they really like, maybe some clients really want us to qualify them. And then we ask very specific questions, which takes us down those just those decision trees, that will either lead to a booking, or maybe it's, hey, they'll give you a call back because it's not top of funnel or bottom funnel that they want to be getting right into. So it really does depend on each and every client of what they're looking for in that
Mhm.
moment.
Interesting.
Do you? So another thing, I'm just asking. I got like hundreds of answering service questions, but or calls. But what about, so the other thing, the other challenge that business owners face with their business, so there's outbound calling. Do you do any of that?
Yeah, we will do outbound calling for clients. So if they have leads, or maybe they have clients that they've served and
Yeah.
they want us to maybe follow up with them, we can set that up, and our agents will call out and
Try to book
ask if,
another appointment.
hey, is
Yeah.
this Marissa? Yeah, and try to set them up with a follow-up appointment or something of that sort.
Marissa, did your dog poop in your yard? Can we come back over today and get that for you?
Yes, you can even babysit them, take them out for the day, keep them. Okay,
Perfect.
so I do have a question too. Actually, it's more for the internal team, but it's been on my mind since earlier when you're talking about the chat. So when like you're hiring them or anything, so then do they have to take like a typing test? Because sometimes I'm thinking about me, like when I'm typing like an email or something, I'll have like I have to go backspace because I typed too fast and I misspelled or I put the period the wrong spot. So, like, what if that happens when you're chatting with a customer or, do there ever like misspells or grammatical errors? And then you're like, oh my gosh.
Oh yes. I'm guilty of that, where I've mistyped, and so like I would go back and put like a little asterisk and put the correct spelling in there.
Sorry.
And I always apologize because I'm just that type of person that I'm
Yeah,
like,
no,
oh
me
my
too.
gosh,
So
I'm so sorry.
I'd be nervous. Like, okay. But then, like, you wanna do it quick and efficiently, so you wanna type quick and get it out there. Then I'm like, "Oh, what if I made a small mistake?" Then do they yeah. So, okay. I was
So,
just curious.
Then
Yeah.
they're a real
yes,
person too, right?
Yeah, well, that's what I
right,
thought
yeah.
too. It's not
But
AI
you're
because
talking about typing fast and speed. Let's talk about how the speed to close. So do you have a certain number of rings that they have to answer by? And when the I'm just curious about speed to answering kind of thing.
Yeah, another great question, because we talk about that all the time. Our goal is 99% answer rate, and we always answer within 2 rings. As soon as
Oh,
it's
yeah.
forwarded over to the answering service, within 2 rings or less, we're answering those phones, and we're getting all of those leads captured for them and sending it over to them in real time. So, Troy, if you're up on a roof, really shouldn't be answering too many phone calls, right? You don't want to be falling down, or, not stapling something down, and staple your foot or something. But we are there to, like, that call comes in, you're not able to answer it, it immediately rolls over to our answering service. We're right on. About 3 to 5 minutes later, depending on what your script looks like, you're now getting an email or a text message saying, hey, Jim called and he's actually needing to book this, and we got it booked for you. And you would be able to see the steps that we took within your script. It's a full message that you would be able to review.
Nice.
It's very
D-
quick.
That's awesome. Do you, so the business owners struggle too with other things, like, because they're looking for leads, right? And so leads are precious, especially the bigger ticket ones. Um, and they'll use resources like Angie or Home Advisor or different things like that, right? So do you take, how do you work with those types of things? Or is that not?
Yeah, so we won't be able to like provide leads or like do that lead generation, but let's say if they do some sort of marketing campaign of something of that sort, and they publish our phone number on the website or on the commercial or on the radio ad, that's all coming to us.
Okay.
And we're taking all the phone calls for them, we're getting them qualified for them, so we're able to qualify. But if they have a whole bunch of leads that just came in overnight, they can get it over to our client services team, who puts it together so nicely. And now we have them spitting out to agents, and the agents will call them first thing in the morning.
Oh, that's good. Okay. Very
They
nice.
used to. I remember it used to be when you were doing marketing, you wanted to know. Well, people still do. You want to know where the calls are coming from, so they would use different phone lines for different marketing. I mean, do you see a lot
Yeah,
of
to
that?
measure the costs. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you,
Yeah,
s-
so we do have clients that have multiple phone numbers, and sometimes it's like once a year, but they will have one phone number that just kind of sits there. And then when they have a specific campaign that's ran,
right.
it's always that phone number and it turns right on and it only tracks those phone calls for that particular number. And they can find all of that in their portal, which is great. So they can have multiple phone numbers for maybe they have multiple locations that they
Right. Yeah.
manage and that they run. Each one of them can have their own phone number. So in that way, they can measure the success of that particular location.
So what do you, when you think about the business and you think about AI and all the different things, how do you see that all changing? Right. So again, it's changing. Will you be incorporating more of it? Will you kind of stay in the lane of the human side? I mean, I don't think anybody knows where all this is going over the next 5 years, but how do you think it's going to be changing in the call center space? Do you have any, what do you
I,
guys
yeah,
internally think?
I think that, yeah, for sure, because AI is great. I think it can serve a lot of really great purposes in a lot of different areas. But with what we have is that we do want to keep everything human as much as
Mhm.
possible. So maybe some, AI things to enhance the quality of work that we have maybe internally eventually, but when it comes to answering the calls and everything else like that, we're always going to keep it human because in recent studies that we have actually ran, we've noticed that there's a high percentage of people that if they reach AI services
They
when
hang up.
they're looking, yeah, they hang up and
Yeah.
they don't want to be talking to AI. They don't want to be in a really vulnerable state and they can't talk with a human that can give them empathy. Recently, my HVAC system was leaking and I didn't know until it warped my floors. And so,
Oh
of
no.
course, I'm like, my hardwood floors, from like 1908, whenever this house was built, is the original floors, and now they're all warped. And I did call a local company and it went to voicemail, and I of course went right back onto Google and I searched for the next one. The next one I got was AI. I immediately hung up because
You
I could
cried.
not
Yeah.
that yeah, I was like, I can't go through all the, and then the third one a real person picked up and I was like, oh thank goodness. And we went through the whole, and they came out later that day. So
Yeah.
it's very important to speak with live people, and that's what we're about here at Service Forge, and we're going to really keep it human. Sure, we'll add some things here and there possibly in the future to just help enhance the service that we're providing internally, but we're always going to
You're going
keep
to
it
stay in it.
human
I like it.
for sure.
All right. That's good.
Yes.
One of the biggest struggles I know with call center businesses, at least the ones I've seen, they have there's a pretty high turnover with their call center people, right? So maybe yours is different. I hope it's different, but so there is some of that, right? So does that make it? I assume you have to build something in that we're either adding or growing, right, or replacing or upgrading your people. So do you see a pretty high turnover there, or is it pretty good compared to other call centers?
I would say that for the turnover, of course, we try really, really hard to make sure it's not high. And I think depending on the time of year, it can get higher. Like it's kind of like a roller coaster, right? Where
Sure.
it's like,
Yeah.
oh, we're really great. We're really, oh, now we're a little overstaffed. Oh, now we're way understaffed, right? And so being able to really work one on one with each one of the associates that we have has made such a big difference. And so the teams that they do have, we try to make them smaller teams. So then that way they can get that one on one care that we need or that they need in order
Yeah.
to be successful and it not have that high turnover rate. But again, everyone's human. We do run
Right.
into certain situations where, they this is not the right fit for them. And again, I feel like they have the hardest jobs, and some of them are not meant to hold that role. And that's okay. That is perfectly fine. But the amazing thing is our recruiting department is always on it. They are always looking for new talent to come in and bring onto the team and get them trained for, in our learning and development phase, and we get them out there. So if we do even start to see it kind of going that way, our team really jumps right on it,
Right.
and we try to keep it at a very good minimum.
What do
And
you do to? Yeah.
are all your call takers, are they all in-house or any remote?
We're actually all remote.
Oh, okay. All
The
right.
whole
Very good.
entire company is actually remote. So you
Okay.
could be talking with someone in North Carolina, and then you call back, and now you're talking with someone in Texas, and then in Florida. So
Yeah.
we're all over.
Very
How do you
cool.
keep them all engaged? Because that's so that's it's hard enough in person. So how do you keep remote employees in this kind of space excited, engaged and motivated and all those kinds of things? What kind of tricks up your sleeve do you use?
Oh yeah, we have a lot actually. So we have a lot of groups that they can be a part of. We have like a cooking group. We have animal lovers, and they literally just post all pictures of their fur babies, and oh my gosh, it's amazing. We have chats that each one of them are a part of, if that's like an IT chat, if that's their team collab, if that is their state collab, so they can be really close to the team members that are close to them. We
Yeah.
have meetups. We actually, as an initiative, we have paid learning time every single day. And so then they can join together for 15 minutes each day and talk about the amazing things that they're learning on a daily basis as well. Um, we have team meetings. We'll throw luncheons every once in a while, and
Yeah.
so we really keep everyone as engaged. And, back when I was a leader of CX associates, I would chat them all day, every day, asking, "Hey, are you doing okay? Yeah, you got everything that you need. Here's a resource if you need it. We just came up with this update that's gonna help a lot." Let's say if they have a really irate caller, or a suicidal caller or something like that, we have a process that they follow that they can be right in tune with what actions that they need to take, what they need to say, who they need to get them over to. So we have a lot of processes in place to help them there, but that really helps them stay connected with everyone, because we're not going to be able to just look over a cubicle and say, "Hey, how's
Yeah.
it going? Do you
How
need
you
any
doing?
help?"
Yeah.
So
Right.
yeah, the chat thread is outstanding. The team meetings is great. The little, just learning time
Little things.
meetups and everything
Yeah.
else that we have, it
Acknowledgement and
it really, really helps
appreciation and
them.
yeah. Do you? I
Yes.
know one of the things that I would see in call centers, and it was even coached to do, was to keep, because it can be a grind, right? And people are people, right? And but they would put a mirror in front of their computer, right?
Yeah.
You ever heard of this? And put a mirror there so you can see your face, and if you're smiling, then you're going to come across like people can hear a smile, right? So have you ever done that, or have you ever heard of that, or do you do something different along those lines just to keep people happy, right, on the call?
Oh yeah, absolutely. The mirror trick is absolutely fantastic. Coach that all the time. I used it myself actually, because when I first started taking phone calls, I'd be so nervous, and you could hear it in my tone. Like you said, you can hear a smile,
Yeah.
and everything else. And so I would also take sticky notes, and I would put around the border of my screens of like, "Smile, you woke up today. You have a job. You have that, and like little things to keep me happy and to just keep me going, even on those days where I was just exhausted. But I'm like, I'm getting up for a reason, and that right there is something to be celebrated. That,
Yeah.
I'm just waking up today, right? So
It's
giving that to agents has really, really helped them, especially, if they're nervous or if they're maybe not too excited to come into work. Well,
There you go.
should be excited to come into work. It's something to be celebrated. So
it's
those
funny.
little tricks
Yeah,
have
it's
really helped.
It's funny you bring that up, Troy. We were actually taught that in Navy recruiting back in the 80s
Oh,
to put a
oh
mirror on your
wow.
desk because people could
Then
hear your smile. Yeah,
let's
so
hear
that's been
you
around
say a
for a while.
sentence
Yeah.
smiling and then say a sentence not smiling.
You do it. You do it first, Marissa.
You do it first. Yeah.
Who does it first?
You can. I don't think you've never not smiled though, so it's hard for
Right.
you, right?
I smile when I'm mad. You make me mad, I'll be smiling too. Like,
Yeah.
are you serious? Okay, I
Okay.
need a sentence.
All right. So let's go around
Yeah.
the horn with one more question you can't wait to ask Shelby. Marissa, what you got?
Okay. So, Shelby, if you did listen to any of the podcasts, I just have to ask everyone, or I ask everyone, what is your favorite tool? Like a tool you just have to have, you love,
Look at that.
can't live
One
without,
tool.
your go-to, one like tool. So,
One
like as an
tool.
example,
Oh
mine was
gosh.
a tape or a measuring, no, tape measure,
Tape
Both.
measure.
Either
the
one's
tape
fine.
measure.
Okay, yeah. I would definitely say I don't know where I'd be without my Phillips head screwdriver. All the
There you
toys
go.
that I have to change
Oh yeah.
batteries for and I don't know what I would do with my life. I would have a lot of very, very upset children at me all day long. And so that's one that actually if it goes missing, I am thoroughly
No,
upset.
that's
And
crucial for you.
That's the
yeah, it's
simplest,
very
most
crucial.
logical answer we've gotten so far on
It
that.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chad is not here. His does his tile saw. He just loves to carry that big thing around.
Just in case there's some emergency tiling. Yeah.
Right.
All right.
Love
Jim?
it. Love it.
Yeah. So thinking about how you started doing this when you were 11, right? After saying, no, I wanted to be a surgical technician, but where do you see yourself going from here? What's the next step?
Ooh. Yeah.
Oh, that is so great. So I don't really have my eyes set on a next step just yet, like for the next position up, because I feel like there's so much more room to grow in this position at this moment. And so making sure that I have, everything set in sight for creating the best customer experience, really honing in on the features that we have and making it a lot better. And so that's like really taking a lot of my time. So I haven't actually really given it a thought of like what my next steps are, to be completely honest with you.
Oh, very good.
Well, that's okay.
Who knows? Tomorrow I might want to just be, maybe a surgical technician. Maybe it comes
Or
Maybe.
an
back around.
astronaut.
The dream isn't
An
gone. It's not. The
astronaut,
dream's not
yes.
dead yet, right? Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah. You still
yeah,
have time.
exactly. Exactly.
Okay. So what's the if when you talk with your friends and having drinks or whatever, what's the funniest call that you can remember taking from a customer?
That's a great question.
Oh, so in the moment, it wasn't funny, but now I can think back and laugh about it a whole bunch. And it's actually quite hilarious. So, when I was a leader for the CX associates, I worked until 1 a.m. my time. And so I was one of the very last ones to be on. So I would get overflow calls, I'd get supervisor line call, I'd do the whole 9 yards. And it was like 2 minutes before I was supposed to log out. And I get a caller for, I think it was a law office. And he said, "Oh, you're interrupting my Gunsmoke episode." I'm like, "Oh, I'm very sorry about that. Is there something that I can do to help? Like, can I get your first and last name?" Right? I'm trying to go through all the things.
He
And
called
he
you and
would
he
not
said
let it go.
you're interrupting him.
Yeah, the law office's commercial interrupted his Gunsmoke, and so I ended the call very politely, and he called me back like 5 times that same night because I was trying to like wrap up, and he would just immediately call back. So in the moment, I was like, "Oh my gosh, what is going on?" I can't even. But now thinking back, I'm like, all that man wanted to do was just watch his Gunsmoke in
Watch
the
his
commercial.
Gunsmoke.
Yeah.
Coming back on.
And your commercials, the law office commercials kept interrupting Gunsmoke.
Jim loves
That's hilarious.
Gunsmoke. That's probably why his name is on the do not answer list.
Right. Yeah, that was me. No, it wasn't me because I'm not up. I'm not up past 10.
That's true. He's not up
So-
past dark.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Okay, so Shelby, give us your final thoughts. Anything else that you want to share with us and our audience?
Absolutely. The biggest thing is that when you have a business, you work so hard to get this business up off the ground, or you took it over. It's really hard to put all of those calls and all those opportunities in someone else's hands, like Service Forges. But the best thing is when we think about what does it cost to miss a call? What does that opportunity cost you? Let's say it's $800 and you're under a house trying to fix a plumbing issue and you miss it. That's $800 that we could have saved for you. And
Right.
so even though it might be really hard, it might be really difficult, we are here to help support in any way, shape, or form. And we can do a lot of things. Just remember we are human, and we'll set very clear expectations of realistically what we can and cannot do. But either way, we'll be able to make things very successful for you.
That's awesome.
Good.
I like that you do it the old school way with real humans talking to real
Yeah.
people, and doesn't sound like you're going to change the ways of that, and you use technology to enhance it but not replace it, right? Which is really, really
That's
great.
very cool.
Absolutely.
Very nice. Well, I can't thank you enough for the time. It was really fun talking to you, and I appreciate it. And you should come back on sometime. How does that sound?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I would love to. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. Bye, Shelby. Thank you again.
Bye,
Take
Shelby.
it
Thank
easy.
you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.